They told me not to come to Christmas because they voted and I'm too negative. So I took back every gift I sent in advance, including the $300 spa card my mom was planning to use that morning. He called me screaming. I told her, the family voted. Remember? And then they say I ruin everything. That I'm too serious, too intense, too negative. That I bring the mood down, that I make things too deep when everyone else is just trying to have fun. I've heard it in every version imaginable. Sometimes whispered when they think I can't hear. Sometimes straight to my face, dressed up as a joke. My sister once told me I suck the joy out of a room. My mom says I always have to make everything about my feelings, like that's some kind of flaw. My brother just rolls his eyes whenever I speak more than 3 sentences in a row. They don't listen. They've never asked why I am the way I am. They just decided I'm a burden. And over the years they've trained me to believe it too. I used to think that's just how family works. You accept it. You forgive, you move on. Even when they disappoint you. Even when they leave your 5-year-old daughter alone in the house for nearly 2 days because they forgot you were counting on them to babysit. They were supposed to stay with her while Drew and I went to a work event. We got back Sunday night. The house was dark. Ellie was watching TV eating crackers off a plate on the floor. She told me Grandma left yesterday morning because they had to go somewhere fun. My mom later said we should have left more food. Drew almost lost it. I defended them. That was last year. I thought if I kept being generous, being the bigger person, eventually they'd see I'm not the problem. So this Christmas I went all out again. I didn't want Ellie to feel like our family wasn't normal. I didn't want Drew to have to sit through another holiday pretending he didn't hear the comments about his salary, or the digs about us not contributing our fair share to family vacations. I handpicked every gift, sent everything ahead of time because my mom said it would make things easier. The $300 spa card was for her. Same place she always talks about going but never actually does. I figured it'd be the one gift she couldn't complain about. The next morning, December 23rd, I was brushing my teeth when my phone buzzed. It was a group text. My mom, both my siblings and me. No greeting. Just this. We talked last night. We voted. We think it's better if you don't come to Christmas this year. There's been too much drama. We just want a peaceful holiday. Then my sister added. It's not personal. We love you. But you're just a lot. Maybe next year. I stared at the screen, foam still in my mouth. No one even asked how I was doing. No one even considered that maybe they were the reason things always get tense. They voted. Like I'm some policy change. Like this is a democracy and I got outvoted. I showed Drew the text. He didn't say, I told you so. He just asked what I was going to do. I said, I'm getting my stuff back. And I meant it. That night I canceled the spa gift card. The digital code got deactivated immediately. I contacted the Etsy sellers. One of them had already shipped, so I sent her a new address. Mine. The rest of the stuff? I requested every return I could, flagged a few orders as shipped to the wrong location, and stopped 2 deliveries mid-transit. By the next morning I had at least half of it reversed. At 10:41 a.m. my mom called. Said she was already at the spa. Said they were telling her the code didn't work. I didn't apologize. I just said the family voted. Remember? Then I hung up. She called again. I let it ring. She sent a paragraph. I didn't read it. For the first time I felt like I wasn't afraid to disappoint them anymore. They made it clear I wasn't family. Just a service they expected for free. Babysitting. Gift-giving. Smiling when they mocked my husband. Laughing when they blamed me for things they caused. That's not love. I don't know what's coming next. But I know this. I'm done being their punching bag. After the spa card incident, everything went radio silent. No apology. No confrontation. Just that eerie kind of quiet they go into when they've decided they're the victims. I thought maybe my mom would at least call again, try to manipulate me into feeling bad. But nothing. Not even a fake, we still love you. Just silence. Then I saw my sister's Instagram story. A boomerang of them all clinking wine glasses, with a long table decorated like something out of a magazine. Candles. Matching napkins. I counted the place settings. They set the table for 10. Not 11. The caption was what got me. Just the real ones this year, 2 hearts. No tag for me. Not even for Ellie. As if we didn't exist. I stared at it for a long time. The tablecloth was one I gave my mom last year. The centerpiece was one I made by hand 3 Christmases ago. She even used my recipe for the garlic herb rolls. I recognized the way she always burns the edges a little. They wanted my effort. Not me. Drew walked into the room, saw the look on my face and didn't ask what happened. He already knew. He just sat down across from me and said, so now do you see it? He wasn't smug. He was tired. He's been telling me for years. And I always made excuses. It's just how my family is. They don't mean it. They're under stress. But none of that explained how they left our daughter alone for a full day and night last year while we were out of town. Also, they could go to a casino. Ellie had cereal and crackers for meals, and my mom had the nerve to blame me for not leaving better snacks. And I still forgave them. I told Drew it wasn't worth fighting about, that maybe she forgot. Now I can't even say that out loud without feeling disgusted. On Christmas morning, Ellie didn't ask why we weren't going to Grandma's. She just asked if she could open presents early. I watched her open the gifts Drew and I had picked out without any chaos, without anyone making passive-aggressive jokes, without my mom calling my choices excessive or trying too hard. It was peaceful. And that's when it hit me, we could have had this every year. We just never allowed ourselves to. That night we took Ellie out for sushi. She wore her sparkly boots, the ones my mom said were a waste of money. At the restaurant she danced in the booth and dipped her fries in soy sauce like it was the greatest meal on earth. She was happy. Actually happy. While we ate, Drew said something that knocked the air out of me. You'd never let anyone treat Ellie the way they treat you. So why do you let them do it to her mom? That stuck. I thought about it the whole night. 3 days later my sister tried to return the bracelet. The custom one I canceled. She opened a complaint with the seller, claimed it was damaged and unwearable. She even sent a blurry photo of something that wasn't even close to what I ordered. The seller messaged me privately, confused, asking if she should proceed with the refund. I told her no. Then I said block her. She's not a customer. She's family. She replied yikes. Say no more. I started seeing it everywhere. All the little ways I was groomed to serve them. I remembered the time I paid for my brother's kids' braces and no one even said thank you. The year I planned my mom's surprise birthday party, paid the caterer out of pocket, and got blamed for not inviting her cousin who she doesn't even like, but it's the principal. The time my dad hinted that Drew should chip in more for family events, even though we were barely making it through the month. And the worst part? I let it happen. I let them shrink me so they could feel big. Then New Year's Eve came. I got a voicemail from my mom. Her voice was syrupy sweet, like she'd been practicing it. She said she and my dad were having discussions about updating their will. That they wanted to make sure everything is fair and that no one is left out. Then she added something that made my stomach turn. But we'd really appreciate it if you could promise to stop stirring up drama with the family. You know, for the sake of peace. That was it. That was their leverage. The will. As if I was supposed to be flattered. As if I should be grateful they were considering me for a slice of their mess. I didn't call back. I just sat there thinking about all the years I let myself believe I was the problem, when really I was just the easiest one to blame. New Year's Day started out quiet. Too quiet. No texts. No calls. Not even the usual passive-aggressive, "Hope you had a great night," from my sister. I knew what they were doing, freezing me out until I came crawling back, apologizing for overreacting, begging for forgiveness I didn't owe. That was the pattern. They'd do something awful, I'd get upset, they'd twist it into my fault, and eventually I'd fold because I couldn't stand the tension. I'd bring cookies or a gift or an apology letter I didn't mean. And they would welcome me back like I was a stray animal returning home. But this year I woke up different. I wasn't waiting for their approval. I wasn't rehearsing excuses. I wasn't checking my phone every 10 minutes. I was calm. And it felt strange, like my brain didn't know what to do without guilt running the show. Around noon my brother finally broke the silence. He sent a paragraph about how my behavior was hurting everyone. He said I should have never taken back the gifts because it made mom cry, and now she was embarrassed in front of her friends. He said the spa had called her to confirm the code was cancelled, and she had to stand there pretending she knew. He ended with, "You really need to think about how your actions affect other people." That line almost made me laugh. The irony was ridiculous. I ignored the message. An hour later my sister sent a voice memo. I didn't even listen. I saved it just in case I ever wanted to hear what manipulation sounds like, but I wasn't giving her the satisfaction of clicking play. It wasn't until later that evening that my mom finally reached out again. A text. Short. "We need to talk. Family isn't supposed to treat each other like this." I stared at it and thought about all the years I swallowed the things they did. Like the time my dad called Drew a soft man, because he didn't want to miss Ellie's school event to help my dad move furniture. Or the New Year's Eve I drove 2 hours to pick my mom up because she didn't want to take an Uber, and she spent the entire ride telling me I made her late. Or the dozens of times they told me I wasn't doing enough even when I was doing everything. They always said family sticks together, but somehow that rule only applied to me. I was the glue they ripped apart piece by piece because they never cared what it cost. That night Drew and I finally sat down and talked, really talked, about everything. I told him about the guilt, the shame, the stupid hope I kept clinging to that maybe, eventually they'd treat me like they did each other. And he told me something that went straight through me. He said, "You keep trying to be the daughter they want, but they don't even know who you are. They just know what you can give them. I felt something shift inside me. Something heavy that had been sitting there for years. That's when I realized the truth. I wasn't losing a family. I was finally stepping away from a cult I didn't know I was in. The next morning something unexpected happened. My dad called. He never calls. When I answered, he didn't even start with hello. He said he heard what I did with the gifts and he wanted to talk about it like adults. Then he mentioned the will again. Not subtly. He said decisions were being made soon and this kind of behavior wasn't helping my case. I didn't yell. I didn't cry. I didn't try to defend myself. I just said I'm not interested. He went silent. Completely silent. Then he asked what that meant. I didn't explain. I hung up. And as soon as I did, I felt something I hadn't felt in years. Relief. Real physical relief. They weren't losing access to a daughter. They were losing access to their favorite resource. And I was finally beginning to see myself the way Drew and Ellie saw me. Not as a problem, not as a burden, but as someone worth protecting. After the call with my dad, I expected the usual silence. That was always their tactic. Go quiet until I came back with my head down, usually holding a peace offering like nothing ever happened. But this time was different. Something had shifted. Not just in me. In them. 3 days later, I got a message from an unknown number. It said, "Hey, I think this was meant for you." They added me by mistake. "Thought you should see this." Attached were screenshots. A group chat between my mom, my sister, and my brother's wife. But the number they added wasn't mine. It was 1 digit off. Some stranger, probably trying to mind their business, ended up in their little plotting circle and decided to forward the mess. I scrolled through the messages. "He's out of control. I think we should talk to someone legal just in case. Didn't she once say something to Drew about calling CPS on us after the babysitting thing? I wouldn't be shocked if she tried to press charges. We just need to make sure everything we've said is consistent in case anything happens." I couldn't breathe for a second. I wasn't angry. I wasn't hurt. I was stunned. They weren't just ignoring me. They were preparing to defend themselves. To spin a story. To cover what they knew deep down was criminally wrong. That weekend they left Ellie home alone. They knew it was serious. And they were terrified I'd finally do something about it. I showed Drew. He just stared at the phone and said they're scared now. They should be. That night I didn't sleep much. Not because I was anxious. I was planning. Every piece of this was falling into place. All the years of being made to feel like I was the difficult one, the overreactor, the problem. It was projection. Classic manipulation. And I'd been feeding into it for over a decade. The next morning I drafted a letter. Not emotional. Not angry. Just clinical, clear and final. I laid out exactly what had happened. The neglect with Ellie. The pattern of emotional abuse. The ongoing financial manipulation and public lies. And most importantly, I wrote that from this moment forward, all communication with me, Drew or Ellie must cease. Any attempt to interfere with our lives, show up at our house, call our phones, or involve Ellie in anything would be considered harassment and documented as such. I also said I had records of everything. Texts, calls, witnesses. It wasn't a threat. It was protection. I sent it to all of them. My mom, my dad, my sister, my brother. Subject line, legal boundaries notice. They didn't expect that. For 24 hours, nothing. Then my mom sent a 2-line response. "You are breaking this family apart. We always tried to love you. But if you want to make us your enemies, we'll act accordingly." That was the last message I got. But the next surprise came a week later. I got a call from my aunt, my mom's older sister. We hadn't spoken in a long time, not since she stopped showing up to family gatherings out of exhaustion, as my mom always explained. I thought it was health issues. It wasn't. She told me she'd heard what happened and had something she thought I deserved to know. Years ago, around the time Drew lost his job and things were tight, my mom borrowed $9,000 from her. Told her it was for us. Said we were struggling and wouldn't accept help directly. Said she needed the money to quietly support us. But that money never reached us. Not a dime. My aunt only found out recently, when she brought it up to my mom, who laughed and said she forgot what the loan was even for. I sat there holding the phone while the room spun. My mom was going around telling people we were dependent on her. That we were taking money and not even being grateful. She told that story for years. That she bailed us out. That we lived off her back. That Drew was too proud to admit it. And none of it was true. I thanked my aunt. Then I walked to the bedroom and told Drew everything. He sat quietly for a moment and said, "You know this isn't about you, right? This is who they are. They'd lie to anyone about anything as long as it makes them look better." And I believed him. Because it was no longer about one spa card. Or one Christmas. Or even one weekend they abandoned my daughter. This was about something much deeper. Control. Image. Lies. They were never going to admit what they'd done. They were just going to keep burying it, blaming me and hoping I stayed quiet. But I was finally done being quiet. After the phone call with my aunt, I thought maybe that would be the last blow. That the worst of it was done. But it turns out when you cut off toxic people who rely on you for their image, their convenience, and their version of the truth, they don't just fade away. They fight. Ugly, desperate, sloppy. I didn't tell anyone else about the money thing, not right away. I needed time to process what it meant. My mom had lied to her own sister, taken thousands of dollars and blamed it on us, just to make herself look like the selfless matriarch. The savior. I couldn't stop thinking about all the other stories she probably told over the years. Who else had she borrowed from? What lies had she slipped into family conversations that made us look irresponsible or ungrateful? It wasn't just manipulation. It was calculated, performed, controlled. But now they were losing control and it showed. First came the quiet attempts to get in. My sister DM'd Drew on Instagram. Not a real apology, just a, hey, maybe we could all talk when things calm down. For Ellie's sake. That's always how they try to pull you back in. Through the kid. Through guilt. As if they hadn't tried to cut me out of Christmas completely. As if I didn't have screenshots of them plotting behind my back. Then my brother started showing up places I go. I ran into him at the grocery store near my house. Then again at a coffee shop I visit once a week. Both times he acted surprised to see me. Tried to make small talk. The second time he asked if I had calmed down yet. I left without saying a word. But it didn't stop there. The school called a few days later. Someone, an extended family member, had phoned the front office asking about Ellie's schedule. Whether she was still enrolled. Whether her parents picked her up or if others were involved. They were subtle, careful, polite. But too specific. The school staff flagged it immediately and called me. I knew who it was. I told the office to mark every relative on my side of the family as unauthorized for contact. I met with the principal the next day and had everything locked down. No pickups without IDs. No exceptions. I added Drew's sister as an emergency contact and removed everyone else. That was the day I started to realize how far they'd go. Not just to avoid consequences, but to punish me for standing up. 2 days later my mom showed up in person. She went to Ellie's school in the middle of the day. Claimed she was picking her up for a dentist appointment. Told the front desk she was grandma, and that I had probably forgotten to call ahead. She couldn't provide a release form. She couldn't even spell our pediatric dentist's last name. When the staff pushed back she made a scene. Loud enough that the vice principal got involved. They told her to leave. When she refused they called security. The school called me immediately after. I was at home. I sat at the kitchen table listening, my hands shaking, not with fear but with fury. That's when I made the call to my lawyer. No more warnings. No more hoping they'd just stop. We sent official cease and desist letters to every single one of them. Legally worded. Documented. Clear. If they contacted me, Drew or Ellie again by phone, by text, by social media or in person, it would be considered harassment. One more step and we'd move forward with a restraining order. They had no more room to maneuver. I didn't want revenge. I wanted distance. Protection. Peace. But here's what I didn't expect. That night, after everything, after the emails were sent, after the school had locked everything down, after the final line had been drawn, something shifted. I felt light. Not happy. Not yet. But free. And then something happened that reminded me why all of this was worth it. Around 9 p.m. I was folding laundry in Ellie's room. She came in wearing her pajamas, holding one of those cheap little pink diaries with the lock on it. She handed it to me without saying anything. I asked what it was. She said, I wrote a story about our new Christmas. The real one. Just us. I opened the first page. It was a drawing of the three of us sitting at the sushi restaurant on Christmas night. Her boots were drawn way too big. Drew had a giant head. I looked like I had no neck. But in the picture we were all smiling. Underneath it she wrote, "This year Mommy wasn't sad." I sat on her bed and just held her. Because she was right. For the first time in years I wasn't pretending. I wasn't performing. I wasn't shrinking myself to survive a family that never saw me. And somehow, through all of that, I had raised a child who could feel the difference. After I tucked Ellie in that night, I sat in the living room with the lights off, just watching the quiet. For the first time, peace didn't feel like something I was waiting for. It was already here. I wasn't crying. I wasn't doubting myself. I wasn't hoping for a call or rehearsing what I'd say if they finally apologized. I was just done. And that kind of done is permanent. In the days that followed, something strange happened. Nothing. No phone calls. No visits. No fake emergencies. The cease and desist letters must have sunk in. Or maybe they realized I was finally serious. Maybe they never believed I had the backbone until I actually used it. Whatever the reason, they went silent. Not out of respect. Out of self-preservation. And that was fine by me. I didn't talk to anyone about it. I didn't post about it. I didn't try to convince anyone that I was right. I just went back to living. Actually living. One morning I made pancakes for Ellie and Drew, and for the first time ever, no one made a comment about the mess in the kitchen. No one criticized how I cut the fruit. No one rolled their eyes when I burned the first batch. We just laughed, ate together, and stayed in pajamas until noon. Then, on a rainy Friday 2 weeks after I'd sent the letters, I got a phone call from a blocked number. I didn't answer, but they left a voicemail. It was my mom. Her voice was calm, like she'd rehearsed it. She said she was shocked that I'd gone to a lawyer, that she and my dad had decided not to pursue a relationship with us further, that they hoped I'd find healing and stop seeing them as the enemy. Then she ended it with something that made me pause. She said, "We won't bother you again. But don't think this means we'll be silent forever if you try to twist the story." I replayed that last line twice. She wasn't letting go. She was threatening me. Subtle but unmistakable. Her voice wasn't grieving. It was warning. A promise to protect her image no matter what damage she'd done to mine. I didn't respond. And I didn't save the voicemail. I deleted it. Because I realized something. They never had any power. I gave it to them. Every time I forgave them. Every time I let things slide for peace. Every time I stayed silent so they wouldn't explode. But not anymore. This time I didn't fight. I closed the gate. No screaming. No public feud. No trying to fix something they were never interested in fixing. Just quiet boundaries backed by law, and the kind of calm that comes from knowing you don't owe anyone an explanation. A week later I had good news of my own. After months of applications and late-night classes, I got the call. I'd landed a remote job with a publishing company. Good salary. Flexible hours. Full benefits. I screamed when I got the offer. Ellie thought I won the lottery. In a way I did. Drew hugged me so tight I couldn't breathe. He whispered, "Told you they were wrong about you." They were. And now they don't get to be part of this next chapter. The one where I thrive without their permission. Ellie made another drawing the next day. She taped it to the fridge. It was a picture of me on the phone with a big smile. She titled it, "My Mommy's Job." Underneath it she wrote, "She works from home because she loves us." I've been called a lot of things by my family. Too much. Too dramatic. Too negative. But never this. Of safe. Whole. And I'll take that over being one of the good ones at a table full of liars any day.